Hi everyone, Spider-Man 991 here, do my comic reviews for the first week of June. Okay, kicking off Marvel. Avengers Academy, issue 14.1. I'm pretty sure this is probably the last .1 that Marvel's releasing, but this is a great jumping off point. Our story starts off with the Avengers Academy again failing to catch another criminal and Giant Man having to interfere to finish the job. And once again, the kids are starting to talk about how they could make mistakes and how they're pretty much the only ones chosen for Avengers Academy because they had the potential of becoming. They were the only ones tortured by Osborn to become supervillains. But Finesse reveals that there was one other name on the list, but this candidate was rejected from Avengers Academy by the teachers because he was carving a positive life for himself through other methods. And so they meet Jeremy Briggs, who was part of the initiative, but after the initiative disbanded, he didn't continue a costume career. Instead, he used his powers to sort of transform the chemical elements of any object to help make billions and fund a company that can catalyze chemical reactions to help with oil spills and stuff. Now, basically, he's rich, and he tells the kids that he was thinking about being a hero, but then he realized that the whole hero-villain thing is sort of overplayed and outdated, and that eventually the rest of the students here should just see it his way and try to give up. And he says he'll help them, he'll introduce them to a bunch of other former initiative members to see how they're doing. So Hazmat and Metal see about an initiative trainee who had an uncontrollable transformation to a beast, but now he's under medication that was first thought of by Hank Pym, but developed by Jeremy, who now lives a pretty much normal life and has his transformation under control now. So, and Jeremy does kind of convince Hazmat that Dr. Pym will cure them, but right now he's probably a little busy with a lot on his plate. Day 2, he takes Finesse and Stryker to Haiti to visit another former member who could somehow cure diseases. And when they meet her, she pretty much tells them that she's trying to get the word out by developing some sort of reality show so that she can get the word out about what she's doing in third world countries, helping them with diseases and stuff since they don't have a lot of medical equipment. And she tries to kind of talk Stryker into thinking about other methods of being other than being a superhero as a way of getting famous. And for Reptile and Vale, they're taken to try to see one of their old friends, a boy named Steve, who, well, apparently has ice powers, but unfortunately Steve is dead because when the initiative fell apart, and he wanted to be in the Avengers Academy, Steve's parents forbid it because they wanted him to live a normal life. Unfortunately, though, one night Steve ran into Wendigo. Wait, I don't know why I said that with a Spanish accent, but anyways, he ran into Wendigo and pretty much got ripped apart, so he's dead. Next up, Jeremy tries to convince the kids one more time to sort of give up on being heroes and just try to do something else. Like maybe Vale should probably just go ahead and live life while she still can. Reptile should try to find his missing parents, and pretty much tries to convince him that the whole hero-villain thing is outdated and useless. But fortunately, Finesse, who notices every single thing she sees, starts to figure out what he was doing. And apparently, Jeremy was pretty much paying off the first boy we saw with the beast transformation, Wesley. He was paying off other students to be his friends so that he would appear happy. Then he was also helping Kelly, the second girl with the curing of diseases, help funding her reality show and other publicity. And get this, he also managed to hire a bunch of thugs to kidnap Wendigo and bring him near Steve so that he would pretty much prove his third point. So, yeah. Even though even though apparently Jeremy has proved that he has the potential to be a villain, as he is manipulating trying to control every single event around him. When the kids find out, fight breaks out, but Jeremy has the upper hand since he can pretty much do anything, since he can change the elements of almost anything, such as the air in Reptile's lungs to water. Then but fortunately he cuts them a break, doesn't kill any of them, and sends them out saying that eventually they'll see his point and that his offer still stands in case they want to work for him. Yeah. I would say 14.1 is a great jumping on point, and it kind of talks about it kind of reminds you what this series is about, which is all these kids who were tortured by Norman Osborn when he was in power, and that now they're trying to find a cure, figure out a way so that they don't turn out to be the world's greatest supervillains. All right, moving right along. X-Men number 12. We get another. This is an interesting story arc because it does deal with the first class of X-Men. X-Men First Class is being released in theaters this Friday. The first team of the original X-Men meet with the Evolutionaries, and they say that they're here because they want to help out mutant kind. They see that mutants have the potential, and they want to help mutant kind survive, but they believe the only way to do so is to defeat the stronger species, which in this case is humans. But once the Evolutionaries talk about wiping out all of humanity, Bobby gets mad, attacks them, and all the other X-Men follow suit. And here's an interesting thing: when Beast breaks one of the helmets, it's revealed to be some sort of pre-evolved human species, missing, like a almost monkey man, if you will. And Xavier calms his students down and tells them that tells the Evolutionaries that he believes that humans and mutants can coexist, but they, of course, dismiss Xavier's dream and tell him that your plan will not work, and humans are already planning their mutant kind's extinction, and they pretty much declare that Xavier is not the leader of mutant kind, and he has barely control over his students, and they just leave saying that they will find a better leader for mutant kind. And Xavier says that they have to do the same thing now, find the leader. And of course we get a little cut back here to all the methods that have somehow halted mutant evolution. Sentinels, the Legacy Virus, and Scarlet Witch. And right when we cut back to the present, the main evolutionary tells Cyclops that he failed to keep up his part of the bargain, but Cyclops says that he kept his promise and that they're all alive. And Emma's wondering what's going on. And still, even though Archangel and Iceman were with the original team, they still don't remember who these things are. So pretty much Cyclops telepathically tells Emma that to get everyone out of here except for Angel, Wolverine, and Bobby. Well, Wolverine can stay because he can pretty much take it. So Cyclops tells them to get everyone back except those three, and that he needs to reason with the evolutionaries. Oh, and he also tells Magneto and Storm to stay in the air and not come down for whatever reason. So Cyclops tries reasoning with them, but unfortunately they say that mutant kind must be prepared for humans to be wiped out. And they fight back, and then Emma gets worried and starts sending everyone in to try to get Cyclops out of there because she believes that the evolutionaries are after him. And interesting, when Cannonball attacks one of the orange evolutionaries, he starts to disappear. And right when Pixie shows up, getting ready to teleport Cyclops away, he tells Emma that no, he needs to stay, and they need to get him out of here. And of course Emma's wondering, like, wait, who are you talking about? And our last page is a flashback to where the evolutionaries have found another mutant, and they ask if he speaks for all mutant kind, and yeah, he says he does. So, looks like so we kind of knew this would happen when Magneto showed up on Utopia. His past decisions would eventually come up to haunt him. Now, not really so much the now it's pretty much these evolutionaries who are pretty much going to come back and maybe either kill Magneto for how he is, or maybe they'll try to rekindle Magneto's original plan to wipe out all humans so that he could pretty much destroy all, to pretty much get back to Magneto's old ways. I mean, the last sentence didn't make much sense. Okay, let me rephrase it. I think these evolutionaries coming back will be either help Magneto kind of move forward with this, maybe officially put his original idea of killing all the humans out of his mind, or it will just rekindle that and make him want to do it again, make him realize that mutants are stronger. That's the reason these evolutionaries chose them, or something. Either way, it looks interesting. And last Marvel, Amazing Spider-Man 663. Yep. Return of Eddie Brock as Anti-Venom. For the past, what's Eddie Brock been up to? What's Anti-Venom been up to? Well, he's pretty much been breaking up any single gang that works for Mr. Negative, aka Martin Lee. So Anti-Venom's pretty much out taking out some Chinese gangsters, but then they all of a sudden start running in fear because of this new sort of vigilante called Wraith, who, whenever she appears, starts making criminals immediately confess to all their sins and every single crime they've ever committed. And this is interesting, when she takes off her mask and Anti-Venom gets a glimpse too, it's revealed to be Jean DeWolf. For those of you who don't know, but sometime while Eddie Brock sometime during the black alien costume era of Spider-Man, there was a cop on the police force named Jean DeWolf who pretty much helped Spider-Man out. She was on his side a lot, but she was killed. But she was eventually killed by her ex-husband or ex-boyfriend. Well, she was killed by one of her exes, and that's pretty much had not as big effect of the death of the Stacys, but it still had a lasting effect on Spider-Man. Okay, moving, and next day, Wraith gets away, but next day, Peter Parker wakes up after having adventures with the Avengers and the FF, decides to head over to Horizon to get some work done, and he shows off to Max Modal this new motorcycle helmet he developed, which is stronger and more durable. And interesting enough, though, it's also the helmet he wore for his bulletproof costume a couple of issues ago. And then Peter also builds new web shooters that are voice activated, which are awesome. So now he decides to go off, maybe see Aunt May, and pick up a new copy of American Science Journal, which has an article written about Peter Parker's discovery. So Peter's all happy about that. And Aunt May, she's very proud of her nephew by going to the feast shelter and pretty much handing out a bunch of copies to all the homeless people. And Eddie Brock is there too. He's getting ready to kill Martin Lee because Eddie Brock feels as though Martin Lee does not deserve to live. I mean, he's basically Spider-Man, just more of a darker level. So he's getting ready to kill Martin Lee, but when he does so, when Aunt May gets near Lee from last time she saw Lee, he gave her a sort of negative touch a few issues ago, and she just started to faint. And now Aunt May started to faint. And Jay Jameson, her husband, calls Peter and tells her that Aunt May has suffered a heart attack or whatever. And of course, Spidey's on his way. And while of course they're getting May in the ambulance, Martin Lee decides to leave. But then Anti-Venom shows up, getting ready to kill Lee. But then Spider-Man shows up, and of course Spider-Man does not know Martin Lee is Mr. Negative, so he thinks Anti-Venom's the bad guy here and just decides to attack him. So a fight breaks out, but unfortunately Spidey is at a disadvantage because the last time Spidey tangled with Anti-Venom, he nearly destroyed all of Spider-Man's powers from Peter's biological system. So now whenever So if Anti-Venom gets close enough, like touches him or whatever, then he could destroy Spider-Man's powers for good. But now whenever Peter gets close to Anti-Venom, he loses his powers. They're just shut down temporarily. So if Venom starts to get closer to Peter, then no more Spider-Man. Alright, 663, I would say Dan Slott is back. So I'd say this is, I don't know, it has a nice little setup with sort of characters that are relate. I like how Dan Slott sort of uses characters that are related in a sense, which are A. Brock, Jean DeWolf. They're both sort of related to Spider-Man in that they're both significant to the black costume era and stuff. Plus, I want to find out who this Wraith is, why does she have Jean DeWolf's face? Maybe it is Jean DeWolf, maybe not. And again, Anti-Venom's back, so, I mean, before, when A. Brock was Venom, he would just nullify Peter's spider sense. Now, he can nullify his entire all his powers, so this is interesting, and I can't wait to see how it all turns out. Alright, now for DC. Superboy, number 8. After 7 issues, we finally get back to the main thing that Jeff Lemire has been building to since his first issue, which is the broken silo. Okay, Phantom Stranger shows up again, and but first Superboy is flying around Smallville, and he meets an old man, and the old man pretty much tells him about the sort of the origin of the broken silo, which was owned by an old English farmer, an old English doctor called Abin took, and apparently this guy was into a lot of sick stuff. He took a boy's body, mutilated it, and the town's sheriff, Nate Kent, whose partner was also named Albert Valentine, just like Connor's friend Simon Valentine, apparently, they rounded up a posse to investigate the Took farm, Eben Took's farm, but they were stopped by Took's sons and grandsons. So while the riot was going on, Nate Kent made his way to the silo and noticed a trapdoor, and in there apparently Eben Took was trying to perform some sort of magic mystic ritual or whatever. And when that happened, though there was a huge flash of light and fire, and the silo was destroyed. And it's revealed that the old guy Superboy was hearing the story from is actually the Phantom Stranger, and he warns him 3 things. First, he says, she is in danger. He doesn't specify who, he just says, she. Then the second is that someone he calls a friend cannot be trusted. And the third thing is that the next time he sees him, it won't be him, the Phantom Stranger. And he gives Superboy some little thing to help him in his quest. Then the Phantom Stranger leaves, and Simon shows up, and they notice that everyone in Smallville is in some sort of sleepy, zombified state. And the reason they're not affected is because of Connor's friend from the future, Psionic Lad. So now, since Connor knows who owned the farm, he asks Simon to figure out where the land could be now in Smallville. So Simon cross-references the maps and learns that it's near Lori Luthor's house. And Lori notices the trapdoor. She opens it. Flash of light. Boom, she's gone. Then the Smallville trio show up, and they notice the same platform, but they don't see Lori. Then the Phantom Stranger shows up and tells them that there's more to this place than meets the eye, and he reveals a secret passageway. So the boys head down the long path of stairs, and they wind up near the town of Hollow Men. That's what these zombies are called. Okay. Alright, well, finally Jeff Lemire is getting to the bottom of getting to what he originally set up in the first issue, which is the mystery of the broken silo, now leading to a village full of zombies. And what else can I say? Oh yeah, it's a nice setup. We once again get a visit from the Phantom Stranger, to warn Superboy about what's to come and what he needs to do. And again, he warns him that someone can't be trusted. And we're still given a little teaser here about Psionic Lad's mission, which is apparently to stop the Prime Hunter from coming into power. But we still don't know who the Prime Hunter is. Now, on the surface, it does sound like it could be Superboy, but I have a theory that it could just as well be Simon Valentine, and the person the Phantom Stranger said who can't be trusted could either be Simon or Psionic Lad. Either one. Your guess is as good as mine. So let the theories begin. I'd say Superboy number 8 is a great setup, and I can't wait to finally see what's really going on with the Broken Silo and the Hollow Men. Alright, now for the big event by DC Comics, Flashpoint. And what better way to start off with an alternate version of everyone's favorite hero, Batman. Okay, this is one of the Flashpoint tie-ins that came out, and this month, since a bunch of number ones from Flashpoint are coming out, DC has decided to release these little buttons that sort of correlate to the logo of the series that you're getting. In this case, it's Batman. Alright, I decided to get Batman. I'm really glad I got Batman now, because from the first issue of Flashpoint, which revealed Batman was Thomas Wayne, I thought, wow, I'm really glad I planned to get the Batman series for Flashpoint. So, let's take a look, shall we? Alright, again, Batman is Thomas Wayne, and while he's taking a psychiatric exam for his medical insurance, and then he meets with his sort of casino manager, Oswald Cobblepot, who you may know in the mainstream universe as the Penguin. He talks to Thomas Wayne about what's going on. He mentions the Maroni boys in the casino. And Thomas states to him that the reason he founded Wayne Casinos was because he wanted to figure out a way to control crime. So, it's a different approach to how Bruce usually handles it. And then Thomas goes and meets with Jim Gordon. And apparently Harvey Dent, Two-Face, well, he's not Two-Face in this world. He's district attorney, and he has a wife and twin kids, but his twins were kidnapped by the Joker, and they still haven't found it. And they meet with Harvey Dent, and so Jim Gordon and Thomas Wayne go and meet with Harvey Dent, and apparently Harvey mentions Hush, Scarecrow, and Poison Ivy, but they're all dead, which is strange. And the only reason the Joker isn't dead is because he's criminally insane, and they have to keep him in Arkham. And Dent's really worried about his kids, and he threatens Thomas that in case anything happens to his kids, then everything is over for him. All his business, Wayne Casinos, it's all over. And then in a later conversation Thomas has with Jim Gordon, apparently Jim Gordon outright knows that Thomas Wayne is Batman. Okay, it's not kind of like with Bruce Wayne. It's different from Bruce Wayne and Jim Gordon in the regular DC mainstream, because it does feel like Jim Gordon does know Bruce Wayne is Batman, but he doesn't actually, but it's not outright known. But in this one, it kind of isn't outright known between the two characters. I mean, you can clearly see that they both know, and they both know that they know, but it's not really proven in the regular DC universe between Gordon and Bruce. So now Thomas decides to take matters into his own hands. He suits up, goes and inspects some sewers, and he finds a trail of bones. Then a bunch of people being held, and they've been beaten and have parts of their bodies eaten off, and we run into Killer Croc. Thomas is able to fight back, and we do get a brief flashback into what happened at Crime Alley when, instead of Thomas just standing there and getting shot, he actually dived for the gun, but Joe Chill still shot it anyway, and it killed Bruce and Martha. So the Perros fall, and meanwhile back in the present, Batman's pretty much holding his own against Killer Croc when he is able to knock pretty much blind Croc in one eye, and then grab the blade Killer Croc was using, and boom, stabbed him right in the head. And we get one final scene with the Joker and Harvey Dent's kids. Alright, Batman number 1, Batman Night of Vengeance. This is interesting, I have to say. This is very interesting. right away you can tell that Thomas is a different Batman, a very, very different Batman, and that he is darker too. He's willing to kill, apparently, which is something that Bruce never does. And he has his own methods, such as using Wayne casinos as a way to control crime, in a way to control like the money and stuff. But it's still an interesting take, and that's the brilliant thing about these Flashpoint tie-ins. They're more like what ifs, really. Like, what if Thomas Wayne was Batman and stuff? I mean, I like it. I want to see where this goes. I want to see if there's any difference between the Joker, between mainstream Joker and the Joker of Flashpoint. Oh, and speaking of what ifs, time for an age-old Green Lantern question. What if Abin Sur survived the crash? Yep, I think, and I was automatically going to get this regardless of Flashpoint, because I thought it was interesting to see Abin Sur alive, and if Hal Jordan never got the ring and Abin lived. I don't have a button for this, unfortunately, but really, the logo for Green Lantern isn't that different from the regular Green Lantern logo, but still, I didn't get the button. I was unable to get the button because my comic book store ran out of it. So let's kick it off, shall we? Alright, we get a little flashback. Starts off with a flashback of Abin Sur on his home planet in some sort of childhood memory with his sister Aaron, that's how it is. And she pretty much reminds him that all life is sacred and they need to protect it. And then he's savagely being a manhunter with a mace. Abin pretty much tells the manhunter that he's not alive and that he doesn't deserve to exist because he does not appreciate emotions and stuff. So Abin pretty much beats the manhunter and destroys it. And then who shows up but Sinestro? That's right, Sinestro is still a Green Lantern in this universe. And Sinestro tells him that apparently Blackest Night is still going on in this universe, and that Necron's starting to rise to power, and he's already killed Kilowog and taken over his Kilowog sector. So now, and Sinestro does take a shot at him, Abin, saying that he's pretty much failed to help keep the Black Lanterns at bay, and that his sister would be ashamed of him. So Abin takes a punch at him. And clearly, Aaron was murdered, and she was married to Sinestro, and Abin was, of course, her brother. And once Aaron died, that's obviously put a big rift between the two, and they're no longer friends. So, and again, on Oa, the Guardians are talking about this, and they say that now the Black Lanterns are starting to rise and take control of the universe, and that the entity on Earth needs to be protected. Another reveal here, not only is Abin's sister dead, but also his whole planet is destroyed for some reason. And now the Guardians call Abin to Oa and tell him that he needs to get to the White Entity so that he can end the Necron's reign. And also that Earth is under... And he learns that also Earth is under war between the Amazons and the Atlanteans. So Abin says he'll get the entity and he'll save Earth as well. But the Guardians tell him to forget about Earth and just get the entity. But Abin doesn't believe that and tells him that all life is sacred and that he will do both, get the entity and protect Earth. So Abin takes the spacecraft, heads towards Earth, but he gets hit by some weird energy beam and he starts to go down. But he'll survive the crash. I'm telling you that right now. He'll probably survive the crash. And also, meanwhile on Yasmut, Sinestro goes and speaks to Atrocitus and tells him that Atrocitus apparently killed William Hand, which kick-started Blackest Night a few years early, and that he also asks Atrocitus about the prophecy of Flashpoint. And this is something interesting. Atrocitus is still wearing his Red Lantern uniform, so obviously the Red Lanterns are still around in this universe. Okay, Abin Sur, Green Lantern, amazing. I would recommend this, even if you're not reading Flashpoint. If you're a Green Lantern fan, you should pick this up, because it is amazing. Because apparently with Abin alive, Blackest Night was kick-started a few years early, and the Green Lantern Corps is losing. What up with that? I get this. It's amazing. Now for the coup de grace, the main event. Flashpoint number 2. We are given some more hints towards some tie-in series, such as Deathstroke being a pirate. We see that most of his crew is former supervillains, and that once he even gets near Paris, he gets attacked by Aquaman and Ocean Master. And Aquaman orders Ocean Master that they are not to have any survivors. Meanwhile, back in Gotham, where the main focus of the story is, Barry has just learned that Batman is Thomas Wayne, and he tries to tell him that something is going on here, and it made the universe forget about that he's the Flash. But during the fight, when Barry's starting to think that either this is a different Earth or he's trapped in one of Mirror Master's mirror worlds, his mind starts to change, and he starts to remember all the events of the Flashpoint universe, and he comes to realize that this is Earth and that time's been altered. And then his ring falls out. Barry picks it up and tells Batman that he used to be a hero known as the Flash, and that he kept his costume in the ring. But when Barry opens it, it's the Reverse Flash uniform. Yeah. So Barry tells Bruce that he can change about his enemy, the Reverse Flash, Edward Thawne, can change history, and that he made this world. And Barry has to be the one to stop him so that he can set the timeline right. And Barry starts mentioning about his world, and then Batman asks about Bruce. And Barry tells him that Bruce doesn't die in the alley, but Thomas does. And he tells Thomas that Bruce still becomes Batman and wages a war against crime. But Thomas still wants to help Barry because he wants his son to live. And Barry says, okay, but I'll need my speed. Meanwhile, back in London, or New Themyscira, as it's called, Stephen Trevor is fighting off Amazons, but Wonder Woman catches him, uses the last syllable of truth to extract information, but then orders him killed. Back in Gotham, Barry sets up an electric chair to catch a lightning bolt, and he sets up a bunch of chemicals to fall on him so that he can recreate the accident that gave him his powers in the first place. So Barry gets ready, asks Thomas to pull the switch, and they say lightning doesn't strike twice. Well, they're right. Yeah, that didn't go so well for Barry. Don't know why I was laughing there, but alright. So Barry apparently did not, somehow his experiment failed. Maybe it didn't, okay? Because obviously Barry's going to get his powers back at some point. We just don't know how. Alright? It's strange, but somehow I think Barry will may get Barry's powers back. I mean, if you just look at it though, you can pretty much tell that Barry is pretty much messed up at this point, but somehow he might get cured and figure out his powers. Get his speed back so he can change everything back to the way it is. But who knows? Maybe there will be another way to change history. All right. Flashpoint number 2. It was interesting. It gives you a little taste about some other stuff in the Flashpoint universe, such as Deathstroke and Wonder Woman, and it also helps you sort of see what happens when Barry tries to convince someone that the universe is wrong. Thomas is willing to help him because he wants Bruce to be alive, even if he has to die in Bruce's place. So I'd say Flashpoint, pretty interesting. I'd stick around. If you've read this issue, I'd stick around just to see if Barry is still able to live, is still alive, or if maybe this accident does restore his powers. Maybe not. Maybe give it time. Abin, the Green Lantern. Don't get this just because of Flashpoint. Get it if you love Green Lantern, because this first issue was amazing, and it looks like it could definitely work out into something that, as a full series, it might work out. So, Batman Night of Vengeance. I'd say this is just pretty much a Batman what if. Get it in case you were wondering whether or not I mean, it's interesting, but I would get it if you're a Batman fan. I can't really see a lot of people who are unfamiliar with Batman getting this. So, Superboy number 8. If you have been reading this series since it started with issue 1, it is finally paying off. If you haven't, then I'd say get it now, because this is probably the last good jump on point for this book for a while. Spider-Man 663. If you're a fan of Eddie Brock, then pick this up. And if you were a fan of the Death of Jean DeWolf story arc, again, pick it up, because for either one of those reasons, it's involved in this. So I'd say get it. It looks to be an interesting setup. X-Men number 12. Don't get this because of the X-Men First Class. I'm telling you right now, that has nothing to do with the movie. But if you're a Magneto fan, then I'd say get it, because now it seems like the story is about to shift towards Magneto. Or if you're a fan of the original 5 X-Men, since they make appearances in this, I'd say get it. And Avengers Academy 14.1. If you've been hearing about all the good things people have said about Avengers Academy, and you still are not sure whether you want to pick it up or not, pick up this issue, and then let that be your decision point whether or not you want to keep getting it or not, because this is a good jump on point and it's new reader friendly. I definitely pick it up. And my comic of the week, I'm going to go with Abin, the Green Lantern, because this is something that I kind of wondered a lot ever since I first heard of Green Lantern's origin. I mean, I wondered what kind of Green Lantern Abin was. What would he have been like if his ship hadn't have crashed? Who knows? That's all. That's all. I'll have a review for X-Men First Class maybe within a week from tomorrow. So, that's all I gotta say. Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.